Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. This is a follow-up from one I did last week where I showed my Bob Dylan covers. This time I thought, right, I'll do the Beatles. If I can do Bob Dylan, I can do the Beatles, because those two artists seem to have been the most covered artists ever. Well, in my book, I think anyway. So I'm going to go through some CDs, some 7-inch singles and some vinyl albums. Also at the end of this video I'll give an update on the contest I'm having and a chance for somebody to get a free draw in the contest. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so Beatles CDs. So first up we have, this is Suggs. This is the CD single that I got way back in the 90s, and I'm Only Sleeping. It's not a bad version. It was a very brave choice to release this as a single. Like, most people would not have heard this, but yeah, not bad. On this album, this is the Slade 2 albums, Beginnings and Play It Loud, and on Ambrose Slade the song Martha My Dear, which is a very good version actually. Okay, it's not as good as the Beatles because it's one of the best songs on the White Album in my book, but yeah, it's a decent enough version by Noddy and the crew. This one here is Lost Songs of Lennon and McCartney, where Bill Yanovitz, Graham Parker and Kate Pearson of the B-52s do their versions of, it's basically songs that Lennon and McCartney gave away. And I think Graham Parker does a really good version of Come and Get It on this, which I think is better than Badfingers and the McCartney demo. Well, it's a very interesting album. Art Garfunkel on this Across America Very Best Of album does a beautiful version of I Will. Again, it's not as good as the White Album because the White Album version is fantastic, but yeah, very interesting. It actually came from his studio album Songs from a Parent to a Child, which I wanted to pick out but couldn't find the CD, but this is the live album and it's actually probably better than the studio version. We also have Johnny Cash, and this is the American Recordings 4. The man comes around and he does a heartbreaking version of In My Life. Beautiful. And this one here I'm going to include, and this is Mark Bolan and T-Rex Truck Off. Now this is rehearsals for his early 1973 tour of North England, and he does a really loose version. It's more a jam really of I Want to Tell You from Revolver. It's really interesting to hear. It's not very good, but it's still really interesting to hear. So this is not actually a bad album. It's, again, it's a curio, and it's good to hear them do things like Born to Boogie, which he does, and Buick McCain and Metal Guru. So yeah, rehearse them. They're very, very loose, just put it that way. They're very loose, not very tight at all. And on this CD here, this is Big Beat by Sparks, there's an added song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was a single in the UK. It failed. This is completely different to the Beatles version. It's very, very sort of slowed down, but I don't think, I'm not going to give Ron and Russell the credit for the arrangement, because Petula Clark did the same song in a very, very similar style in the 60s as well, and I think they covered her version, but it's still very, very good. Okay, so some 7-inch singles now, and Echo and the Bunnymen, 7 Seas, and on the B side of this is a terrible version of All You Need Is Love. Billy Joel's This Night on the B side of that is a decent enough version of I'll Cry Instead from the Hard Day's Night album, which I really like that song. Of course, I'm going to have to show Elton John's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which I've said before, I do prefer this to the Beatles' own version. Brian Ferry's Extended Play EP, and the 4 songs of this actually all come from the Let's Stick Together album, and he does a decent version of It's Only Love. Paul Weller, Out of the Sinking from his Stanley Road album, on the B side of this he does a really good version of Sexy Sadie from the White Album. It seems that the White Album seemed to get covered a lot, and I showed this in my Pretenders ranking, and this is Never Do That, and the B side is a fantastic version of Not a Second Time. Okay, some vinyl albums then. First up, Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel, Love's a Prima Donna, and the hit single, the big hit single from this album was Here Comes the Sun, and it's this version I heard actually before the Beatles, and it's really, really good. Tina Turner, Private Dancer, and she does her slowed down version of Help, which I really do like. I always thought Help by the Beatles was too quick. It would have been better as a slower song, and she slows it down. I think she does it really well. It was a single here, it didn't do too well. It was probably the least successful of all the singles off this album, but still an excellent version. Of course, the Rolling Stones, and this is Road Gold, and on side 1, track 2 is I Wanna Be Your Man, and it was a decent enough hit for them. I think it got to number 11. It wasn't their first top 10. I prefer the Stones version to the Beatles version, sorry, but I think there's more oomph to it, and I prefer Jagger's voice to Ringo's anyway. Okay, and next up, I showed these in the Bob Dylan video, and this is The Seekers Come the Day, and they do a standard version of Yesterday. It's fine, but nothing will beat the Help version. I just love McCartney doing it on Help, but still not a bad version. Okay, we're not far away here. This is going to be a quick one. The Carpenters, Ticket to Ride. Again, this is slowed down, and again, I love this. I think this is magnificent. This is almost like a different song to the Beatles version. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I do like Ticket to Ride by the Beatles, don't get me wrong, but again, they just changed this completely and made it a completely different song. I love it. Absolutely gorgeous, slowed down version of Ticket to Ride. What's this one? Aha, Boney M, Oceans of Fantasy, and they do like a sort of a reggae Jamaican version of Two of Us, and I'm telling you, it's really good. It really is. I love the Two of Us from Let It Be. It's not better than that, but it's fun and it's not cringeworthy. It's just a damn good version of it. So yeah, I would always, if I was doing a Boney M compilation tape for the car, that's if I was driving on my own. I would include Two of Us. It's just a great version. Next up, and we have, okay, the Beach Boys Party, and there's 3 Beatles covers on this. There's I Should Have Known Better, Tell Me Why, and what's the other one? It's Oh, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. I actually quite like this album. I don't look at it as an album. I look at it as like a fly on the wall, with the guys just having a bit of a party, having a good time. I know there was quite a bit of work done on this in the studio to make it look and sound half like an album, but again, I think it's just a bit of fun, and they're not bad. They're not anywhere near the standard of the Beatles versions, but still not bad. This one here is the Electric Light Orchestra, and this is The Night the Light Went On in Long Beach, and this was from around 74, and they do a fantastic version of Day Tripper. Really, really good. And they do ELO-ify it, not in the production, but like the early ELO, they add like an orchestral middle to it, which really does improve it. It's a really, really good song. You do have the riff of Day Tripper, you do have the main song, but then the orchestra comes in, and I think it's really, really good. It's a bit like what they did with Roll Over Beethoven. They do the same sort of treatment with Day Tripper, and I think it's excellent. This one I showed yesterday, and it's the Chords, So Far Away, and they do a half decent version of She Said, She Said, which is pretty good. And lastly, I have to show this, and I love this, and it's David Bowie's Young Americans, and he does his own take on Across the Universe. You put the two of them together, you would never know they were the same song, which is what I like about a cover version. He makes it his own. I'm not going to say this is better, I'm going to say this is different, because I absolutely adore both versions. Some Bowie fans don't like this, but this is one of my top 3-4 songs on this album. I think it's an absolutely magnificent version. So that's David Bowie, Across the Universe. Okay, so that there is some of the Beatles covers I have. Also, my contest, there's about 2.5 weeks left on it, and so far I've had 29 entries. I can't believe that, so thank you very much for everybody that's entered. There is one entry up for grabs. You get a free entry for the first person to put in the comments below who is actually singing Please Please Me at the start of this video. Whoever gets it right first will get a free entry, even if you already have a video, which means you'll have two. If you don't make videos, it doesn't matter, you'll still get in if you're the first person. Okay, that's me for now. I hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.